Comes the day, come the hour, come to fight for the glory. We have come to answer a country's call. Something, 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 Ireland, Ireland, together standing tall. Shoulders to shoulders, we'll answer Ireland's call. Tell you what, Johnny. I'm singing this because Johnny Sexton. Okay, I have to sing it because Johnny Sexton was unable to sing the national anthem. He was too emotional, tearing up during the anthem. That got me a little bit. Okay, I have to admit, watching Johnny Sexton, a grown man tearing up during the anthem, the emotions that was rushing through him got me. Okay? That got me for a moment. And sorry for butchering your anthem, okay? Anyway, this could be the Grand Slam decider. Ireland hosting the 14-win streak running French team in Dublin. And first time in 3 years, Johnny Sexton was able to be on the field. And Ireland had the upper hand from the get-go and just kept the foot on the gas all the way to the finish. In all essence, this was not really the best Irish performance, but they got through at the end. I did feel like the French probably could have played a little bit better in some of the decision making. The French were brilliant, but it's just, the Irish was able to control the game. Despite some of the missed tackle count was really high for the Irish team. Despite the missed tackle count, the defensive issues for Ireland, the Irish was able to control the game, good game management, just with the bread and butter that brute force style, that style that the Irish likes to play in Leinster. A lot of forwards running, a lot of controlled attack. And they don't mind just running, 15, 20 phases at you. Eventually, they will break you. That's what the Irish had done today. And it took them like 70 minutes to finally break France, I would say. But they did it. They managed to pull out the win, really put the nail in the coffin, and to put the French away. So the French, let's have a look at the Irish. Let's talk about Ireland first, okay? Let's talk about Ireland first. I thought the physicality was spectacular once again this week for Ireland. I thought Keenan, Doris, and McCloskey. McCloskey is someone that has been left out of Joe Schmidt in the past. Really questionable. He was unbelievable. Like every time he got the ball, he got over the advantage line, and just physicality at that 12 position really brought that defense, strong defense as well. So I thought McCloskey was absolutely amazing. I was surprised that I haven't seen him under Joe Schmidt really haven't seen him until I think this year, in fact. So that was really a surprise to me. Johnny Sexton showed us he can still sprint. He made us a nice run down the sideline and then got taken out by Dupont. He looked a bit hurt, but he had to get back in the line. It took him a bit of a while to get back in line, but Johnny Sexton was okay. Was once again brilliant. I did feel like Conor Murray was probably. I know this is the style they play in Leinster, even with Gibson Parks. I did feel like Conor Murray was really took the ball upon himself a little bit too much. I really felt like there were so many times where the Irish were pounding the French try line, and then there was so much space out wide. If Conor Murray had just given the ball to Sexton, who has that vision out wide, could have potentially scored more points sooner than the Irish did. And again, the French defense, all credit to them, was able to hold up the Irish advance over the try line again and again and again and again. It was absurd how many times the Irish went over the line and then was held up by the same person again and again. Who was it? That was what was his name? Cyril Bay was the one that's holding up the ball again. Was it Cyril Bay or was it Jellock? But they just keep holding them up again and again and again. And resulting in goal line dropout nowadays. It was just ridiculous defense by the French. But I did think that at times, even James Slow was. You can see James Slow was calling so many of these times, and he just come on, give the ball. Just Connor, Murray, just give the ball to Johnny Sexton. He's able to just get the ball out wide, and surely there would have been more tries scored by the Irish team. But that's the good news. The Irish team has more room to improve. The fundamentals are great. Just has more room to improve, utilize the space out wide. And in fact, the Irish tries, I think, these tries? Like at least, yeah, 2 of the 4 tries were scored out wide with the space given to them by stretching the French defense. When it comes to game management myself for the Irish team, really clear. Like it's so it's so like I you can tell the team it's so experienced. They actually thinking about what they wanted to do, throughout the game. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. So at the first half of the game, it's all about asserting physical dominance. It's all about quick balls at the breakdown, trying to just control the ball, control possession. And second half, it's once the Irish were ahead, it's all about game management, trying to stay ahead with penalties, trying to, there was just kicks behind the French defense into the 5 meter zone, trying to get that French defensive line out, trying to get even just putting the ball into the dead ball zone, try to force for a goal line dropout again and again, just really, really, really good game management for the Irish team. Knew exactly what they wanted to do, and eventually the French was not able to really exit out of their own half, and they were just getting belted on by the Irish attack, and got put away by Greenrose on the 71st minute. Finally cracked the French. When it comes to France, this was an onslaught. After last week's performance, this was much better than last week against Italy. So you can say that, there was a lot of really brilliant individual performances once again by the French side. Penold was again just superhuman. He scored like the only try of the French team was just you couldn't believe he busted through like 2 tackles or something. Just so elusive, and for the whole game he was just busting through tackles left and right. The Irish defense made so many mistakes. We'll have a look at the stats in a minute. You wouldn't believe how many missed tackles the Irish team actually made in this year. They made 21 missed tackles already, Irish, at half time. And by full time, let's see how many missed tackles they've got. They had 38 missed tackles. This is like, I have not seen the Irish team being this poor in tackling. I can't even remember. Ever since since the lockdown, I don't think, ever since Andy Farrell's taken over, I can't remember. In fact, even before Joe Schmidt, I can't remember the last time Irish had this many missed tackles in one game. And yeah, this is, just absurd amount of line breaks. A lot of that came from Penold. Ramos was once again brilliant for France in terms of the kicking game, goal kicking. He put in a drop goal as well, knowing that the French, putting the French within 1 try distance when they were behind. Once I think really as soon as Ramos was substituted off, the French kicking game just really fell apart, and Ireland was just able to comfortably, pinning France into their own half, playing in the France 20 inside the France 22, and it was really difficult situation for the French. Once Ramos came off the field, Fiku was just superhuman in defense. I thought he was just superb. The last try, Ringrose, Fiku was making like 3 tackles in a row, and eventually he couldn't make the tackle on Ringrose. Dupont once again showed a lot of individual talent, but I do feel like maybe it's the captaincy or whatever reason it is. I do feel like his creativity is lacking a little bit. Like he has that talent, he has that talent, he has that agility, but I just don't know. Yeah, I just unlike maybe 12 months ago, there was so many individual creative plays, like little kick behind. I just feel like he's a little bit off. I feel like Dupont, I do think that maybe the captaincy is putting too much onerous on him on the field, but that's just my take on the situation. And also, I do think that due to the Irish pressure on the French, he has put the French in a weird situation where the French was really desperate for points and really desperate to get out of the pounding, so to speak, right? So they were happy to take 3 points every time it was on offer. Whilst they do have Ramos only missed 1 really long kick and was pretty much punting the ball over anywhere inside the Irish half. I did think that French really need to control a little bit the game with the hands on ball a little bit more and apply some pressure, build those set pieces inside the Irish 22, especially with those penalties a little bit more, because the Irish has shown that they don't mind not scoring as long as they're controlling the game in the right territories, as long as they have the ball. They don't care. They just have to pound you. They don't want to. They don't even care about doing fancy moves, try to break through the game. They just do basic stuff. Pick and goes. One-off runners. Just happy to pound you and happy to control the game. Whereas the French really didn't do much of that, in my opinion. Really didn't. Every opportunity they had to score points, they taken it. And I felt like if the French had to just, taken that little bit of time, try to build towards those tries a little bit, especially in the first half, I think that could potentially, it's like boxing, right? If you're just covering for if you're just covering up, you're just gonna get belted more, right? But if you counter punch, you're actually gonna slow down the attack. It's kind of like that. The French will just like have you to covering up, finally get an opportunity to keep 3 points. They're more than happy. It's like finally got to the break. Between the rounds, you're happy to quickly taking a break. All right, it's like you need to swing back a little bit more, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts. That's kind of like how I saw the match went for the French. So overall, oh yeah, before we go to the stats, we have to talk about Barnesy, okay? The greatest referee in the world, Wang Barnes. Antonio, what's his name? Antonio, what his name is? The tight head prop. He put on a huge show on Rob Herring. It's a red card. Should have been a red card. You could argue that the initial hit was on the chest and then kind of the whiplash onto his head, which was Barnesy's kind of argument. But it's still a red card. Uni was not deeping at all. He had time. And it was a pretty big shot. I'm pretty sure Herring didn't come back on the field. Had a HIA, didn't come back. But it was a pretty big shot. Right on the head. Didn't dip at all. Quite dangerous. And Barnesy mitigated that down, saying that it wasn't dangerous because the initial contact was on the chest. Very marginally hit the chest before the head, by the way. No, sorry. Barnesy said it was absorbing tackle. Okay? And then mitigated down to a yellow card. I thought this was, again, I like to see that the French, I like to see the whole game. In fact, I would like to see all the referees be less red card happy, but I just don't think this is under the current guidelines. Unless they change the guidelines, which I'm happy to do, and I'm happy for this to just be a yellow across the board. But under the current guidelines, I just don't think it's correct, Mr. Barnes. I just don't think it's correct. I think it's a red card. It's not what is it? Low danger tackle. It's a very high danger level tackle, and it's direct to the head. Yeah, I thought this should. I don't think there was enough mitigating factors to reduce that down to a yellow. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Under the current guidelines, I'm happy for the change, but under the guidelines, it should be in a yellow. So next up, quickly go through the stats. Yeah, the run meters 690 for Ireland, 666 to the French. Quite a lot of opportunities for the French, and like I said, the tackle count 148 to Ireland, 248 to France. Ireland firmly controlled for the game, happy to pound you, happy to run at you, and the French was had plenty of opportunities to break through. The Irish defense was not as good as the French, but the French really, I feel like, could have probably taken one or two of those 3-pointers and applied a bit more pressure. Could have yielded 7 points instead. That's my opinion. So missed tackles for the Irish, 38 overall. Halftime was already 21 for the Irish side, so second half wasn't too much better. French, 23 missed tackles out of 248, which is actually not bad. So like, it's actually under 10%, which is actually incredibly good considering how many tackles they have to make overall. Despite 23 ordinarily, I think is a pretty high number, but the sheer raw number percentage-wise is actually not that bad. Kicks in play, 39 to 37 at halftime. The kicking game was only 19 for Ireland, 16 for France. Second half, the kicking game for the Irish team really ramped up a little bit. Just really the Irish team had a very clear idea, wanted to control the game inside the French half, especially, like I said, when Ramos came off, French kicking really fell off a little bit in comparison to the Irish. Irish was really comfortably camped inside the French half. In fact, Hugo Kinnan kicked the 50-22 in the second half, which really, put on a lot of pain for the French. Again, despite so much pressure, the French was able to hold on till like 71 minutes before finally Ringrose was able to get into the corner. The Irish lineouts as well was disrupted again and again and again by the French. I'm surprised that this says 0 French lineout loss. I'm pretty sure France had at least one lineout spoiled by the Irish. But I don't know how they actually count this. This could be an error. But Ireland has the 3 lineout issues. Penalties, 7 penalties apiece. Not too bad overall. Actually pretty good for international test teams. The yellow card should have been a red, in my opinion. But it is what it is. Barnesy being Barnesy. I like it. I like the fact that it's only a yellow, but under the rules, I think Barnesy is probably a little bit too light on that regards. So yeah, let's quickly go through some of the key points of the game. So yeah, right from the kickoff, what's his name? James Lowe hits the ball, kicks the ball, and hits the spider cam. I don't think there was any shots out of the spider cam. I thought they should have showed the ball hitting the spider cam, but there wasn't any footage on that. So the first scrum, it did look like Antonio was struggling a little bit to Andrew Porter, but yeah, throughout the game, I thought the scrum kind of like evened up. Wasn't particularly too much advantage to either teams. The first one, it did look like Porter was really putting the screw on Antonio. 4 minutes into the game, France get penalized for. Oh yeah, there was a penalty to France for Ireland for not rolling away. A pretty long distance kick as well, and France was happy to take the 3. So 4 minutes in the game, 3 points on the board for France. Like especially like this first few minutes in the game, I really felt the French should have pressured the Irish team a little bit for a try instead of just like taking the 3, because you still got 70 something minutes, 3 points. 3 points in, 4 minutes on the mark. It's not really gonna make that much of a difference in the long run. I mean, it could, but like I just think the value is so much better if you had put on pressure and potentially scored a try here. So on the so 6 minutes into the game, Ireland was basically camped. Was able to put a really nice kick behind. Thomas Ramos was trying to scoop the ball in field, and he stepped on the try line, and then it was a 5-meter line out for the Ireland. Ireland again, the set piece, line out comes in, goes for the rolling more, and the French was able to stop it, and it was able to just like push the Irish rolling more back. So it was really, really, really impressive. But it doesn't matter. The Irish game plans doesn't really rely that much on the rolling more anyway. They have to just start crashing the ball, pounding the ball, and there was so much space out wide. Andrew Porter crashes in and was held up, and I just really felt they should have spread away out wide a little bit. But anyway, the Ireland gets the ball. Sorry, the Ireland gets the ball again around 8-minute mark, just inside the French half. This was a set play. It was just absolutely beautiful, beautiful set play. You can tell the Irish was like really feeling the home crowd, feeling the pressure, really wanted this win. They did this really beautiful move where they had like Johnny Sexton. The ball, it looked like a pretty standard like crash ball, right? The ball passes to Beelam, and then Beelam looked like he's going to loop the ball behind to Johnny Sexton, who's running around behind him, which draws this move around Beelam, drew like a lot of the French defense start drifting out wide, thinking that Sexton can get the ball, but Hugo Keenan just ran straight into the gap at the number 9's position. And then, yeah, Beelam just threw a nice little inside pop. Keenan pumped straight through, and he had a few people hanging onto him. He goes in anyway for the try. 7 points to 3 to Ireland. 40 minutes in again, another penalty to France. Again, really, like after receiving so much like physical, abuse essentially by the Irish, I really felt the French should have, tried to, deliver some more punch, right? French was happy to take 3, make the scoreboard look good, but then again, you're back on the receiving of the Irish onslaught again. But yeah, anyway, so a few minutes later, on 17th minute, so this was a really weird kind of turn of the events. So Mac Hansen chips the ball over the top. The Irish was inside the French half, chips over the top. The ball kind of was all over the place. Barnesy looked like he got in the way of the referee, so there was a loose pass to one of the French between the French players. The ball like bounces on the ground. Thomas Ramos was under pressure. He slaps the ball across to I think it might be one of the French forwards or something, to one of his, might be Ficu. And anyway, the French gets the ball, starts running out of their own 22. There was some nice little hands between the French players, and eventually Anthony Gillot gets the ball. He runs down the field. He was just like surprisingly difficult to tackle, made like a really good effort to like fend off a few players, and he threw a nice little pop off to to Damien Pennell, who just saw this gap between two Irish players. I think it was Ringrose. I think it was Johnny Sexton and and Conor Murray. Or anyway, saw this gap, center field. He just absolutely pummeled himself through. It was just like the acceleration out of this guy was so quick that both the defenders was not able to read him. Essentially, they were in position to make the tackle, but it was like both the defenders were caught off by surprise how quickly he accelerated. He just went straight through the both of them in the middle, and goes in for the first try for the French. Suddenly the scoreboard is 13 points to 7. The French are ahead. 20 minutes into the game, right from the kickoff, Mac Hansen redeems himself with that poor kick by charging the ball down, and Ireland recovers the ball. And again, Ireland just pound the ball, and eventually they finally gets the ball out wide to Jem Slow. Jem Slow flies into the corner, puts the ball down. The ball was clearly in field, right? Just like millimeters away from touching the try line. But as he's getting put out, his foot so close to the ground, he almost looked like his foot touched the ground, to be honest. But because the on-field decision was a try, the TMO has to get very conclusive evidence that his foot touched the ground, which was very hard to tell, maybe millimeters away from touching the grass. If the grass had been trimmed a tiny bit longer, it would have been out. But yeah, he was literally, the ball touched the ground just before his foot touching the grass as well, scraped the grass. But yeah, the Ireland was able to get that really desperately needed second try to catch up in the scoreboard. 12 points to 13. Johnny Sexton misses the kick. 25 minutes of the game, Antonio flattens Rob Heron, smacked him on the head. Really should have been a red card here. Not much else to say. So Ireland then, following this yellow card, had a scrum, and then the scrum didn't go well. Ireland took a quick tap, and then Ireland just pummeling, pick and goes, short one-off crash balls, and eventually Andrew Porter crashes through for Ireland's third try, 19 points to 13. After this try was scored, the French was able to really control the game, despite having one player in the bin. Again, the French defense, despite with one person missing, was able to really disrupt the Irish attack. Both defending like the set piece, both defending, just fronting up tackles. The French were just, despite having one player missing, was not really able to. Ireland wasn't able to put on any more pang after that. So on the 32 minutes into the game, French was able to actually get a penalty just inside the Irish half, inside the 50, on a bit of an angle as well. And Thomas Ramos put this one through. 3 points. With the play in the bin, getting 3 points, it's really good effort for the French. So 19 points to 16. French was able to claw himself back a little bit. 37 minutes in the game. The Irish had this miracle, like French had, again, just the defense was just like a miracle. The handling wasn't that great by the French team. Mac Hansen gets an intercept. He passes the ball down the sideline to Keenan, who rounds down the sideline, and he chipped the ball behind, and there was a bit of a scramble. Eventually, Mac Hansen scooped the ball up again. He was literally a meter away from the try line, and he was diving. His body was literally horizontal, right? Reaching for the try line, and Antoine Dupont grabbed him by the waist, and he just literally holding him out somehow. I don't know how, but Antoine Dupont basically stopped Mac Hansen from scoring whilst Hansen was vertical. Okay, I don't know how Dupont did this. He just held on to him and prevented him from get through from scoring a try. So yeah, it was just ridiculous defense by the French. That was just superhuman effort by Antoine Dupont. So just before halftime, the Irish team was just once again really wanted to put some points before the end of the before halftime. Just again pummeling the French try line. Got a short on penalty from a scrum, and then just tap and go, pick and go. Finally, Conor Murray charges through himself. I think this was the second time or something. He tried to charge the ball through. And then he was not able to get through. He gets held up again, but there was a penalty for what do you call it, for offside, and Ireland kicks the 3 points, 22 points to 16 going halftime. So yeah, just this whole sequence of play. So basically, the French had a 5-meter line out that was spoiled. Like, surely I thought that was French. How can French not lose any lineouts when they get spoiled? Conor Murray scooped it up. He tried to dart through. He gets held up because there was a knock on by the French lineout. There was a scrum, and Murray tried to dart through himself again. And this whole time, James Lowe was out wide calling for the ball. You can see it on TV, and I really felt like the ball should have gone to Johnny Sexton instead of Conor Murray, just trying to make a decision around him. I did think that the Irish could have played a little bit better and could have got a try here. So second half starts. 5 minutes in the second half, French gets another opportunity to, again, this is really far. We're talking 50 meters on a bit of an angle. Thomas Ramos tries to kick the 3 points. He fell short. He had the right distance, but he fell short. Again, I just felt like the French should have just gone for the line out. Considering how good their Maul defense is, they should have tried the Maul and potentially maybe got a more try. I don't know. But yeah, I thought this was, again, poor decision by the French, I think. Sometimes it looks good on scoreboard if you had got this one through. But yeah, overall, it did. I think it's just, and again, with rugby, you need to be testing the opposition. You can't just be taking 3 points without ever testing opposition defense at all. You have to test the defense and then take the 3 points after you have exhausted your options, instead of just default to 3 points without testing your opposition's defense first. I really don't like the decision here. We'll see that a lot in Test rugby, but I really don't like the decision here for any team. So after this, the game, the Irish was clearly ahead. The game turned into a bit of a nice little kicking control. Ireland was able to just pin the French into the half quite a bit. Penol was able to, again, counter-attack, break a lot of defenders. Brilliant as usual. 56 minutes into the game, Keenan was able to get a 50-22. Again, just a brilliant kicking game, finding some space behind. And then 2 minutes later, following this 50-22, the Irish team gets a penalty for building from the line out, just crash balls. Again, just basic stuff. France gets caught offside. Good defense for the French team, but Irish was happy to take it out of 3 points, 25 points to 16. And the French immediately came out got onto the front foot, 61 minutes, and they were just building inside the Irish half. Thomas Ramos hits a drop goal. Yes, it was a nice drop goal, and again, I feel like the French should have been a bit more patient, like the Irish is. The Irish are having to build 15, 20 phases. Even if they're not going anywhere, they have to just keep going. But the French was, I think they probably had 5 phases, 6 phases, and Ramos takes the drop goal. Sure, he did get the drop goal, but again, really a lack of sustained pressure from the French, in my opinion. 63rd minute, the Irish was pushing through again and gets held up over the try line. The French was able to really identify the breakdown as an issue this game. Just again and again, despite the Irish onslaught, the French was consistently able to slow the breakdown and was able to sometimes turn over the ball against the Irish. So for the last 20 minutes or so, for the next 10 minutes, between 60 to 70 minutes, there was the Irish was just controlling the game, pinning the French in their own half, just with nice kicking game. And eventually, the French was just really too tired to get out of their own half. Ireland gets the ball, just runs back down the middle of the field, just pummeling the French defense line inside the 22. I think it was 18 phases, maybe more. Gary Ringrose on the sideline. The French defense was just way too tired, and then Ringrose just literally bumped through 3 players to put the nail in the coffin on the 71st minute to score the final try to win the game for Ireland. And final score 32 points to 19. The French look visibly tired for the last 10 minutes, and I do think that I think Ramos came off on the 60 minutes or so for the French, and that really the French just took it, the kicking game really took a nosedive once Ramos came off. And I think that Gaultier has a bit of strategy to rethink that, especially if he doesn't have another fullback at the level of Ramos. If they had They did bring on Jalibert, but the kicking game was just really fell off. Just really wasn't there. If they had like Villiers or something, not Villiers. What's the other guy's name? Jaminet. If that Jaminet, maybe it would have been okay to bring him onto the field. But I thought this was probably a strategic error by the French. But anyway, that's the game. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. I have to go watch the Scottish game, and see you guys later. Cheers.